Hey there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Really appreciate you being here. So in this particular one, I'm gonna go over what's called the Redneck Rendezvous. So basically once a year, I'll get together with my friends and family that I grew up with in Tennessee and just hang out, have a good time. So what we'll do is we'll eat some Southern cooking, shoot some guns in the woods, into the side of a mountain where it's very safe. Then we'll just drink drinks and hang out by the bonfire at night. So it's really relaxing, really good time. Usually camp, typically tend to sleep in my car. It's a lot easier. But anyway, I was just there this past weekend, left Saturday early morning and stayed the night, and then early Sunday morning came back to Indiana. And yeah, it was just a short little trip. Got to hang out with some people, so that was nice. But anyway, let me get into some of the photos that we took. So on the way there, actually my girlfriend took these, and I believe this is in Kentucky. If you notice, there's a very poopy looking house in the bottom left-hand corner. That's how you can tell it's Kentucky, because Kentucky is basically the dumpster trash heap of Appalachia. So I'm just kidding. But anyway, yep. Cumberland Gap, yeah, that Cumberland Gap is in Kentucky, and that's actually where some of my family's from. So if you trace down chase the Johnson lineage all the way back, you can find a lot of our roots in Cumberland Gap. Before Cumberland Gap, it's unknown. Basically, my family made a beeline for the mountains and then just stayed there and didn't write anything down. So we have a hard time tracing our lineage back. But somewhere in the Appalachia Mountains is where I'm from. I know I've got some pictures of my 3 or 4X great grandfather, and he is like a backwoods mountain hillbilly type. So, and he's got a Neanderthal for a son, which is also like a 3X great grandfather or something like that. Anyway, so on the way there, every month, once a month, I would get in the car with either my mom and my uncle, and we would meet halfway at the 110-mile marker in Lexington, where I'd meet with my dad, and then my dad would take me the rest of the way to Indianapolis. I'd spend the weekend with him, and then I'd come back and again meet at this Waffle House. So had a lot of memories here, so I thought I'd stop by, and it was a devastating blow to see that the Waffle House had closed. That made me very, very sad. So I guess they moved locations, or this one just got shut down for whatever other reason. But this was a fantastic place to go and hang out and with my uncle and with my dad and just chill and eat delicious, terrible food. So as far as like bad food is concerned, Waffle House is the best of the bad food. But anyway, so finally arrived. This is me heading towards the gun range portion where you can just safely shoot into the woods and whatnot. And then this is turning around, looking towards where everybody's hanging out. Originally got a bunch more pictures with all the people hanging out and milling around, but I don't know if they really wanted to be talked about on the internet, so I decided to go ahead and cut those out. But anyway, yeah, basically had a couple tents set up and had a whole bunch of picnic tables all filled up with food and whatnot. So everybody just got to browse around all day. There's a dessert contest that we missed out on because it takes 5 hours to get there, and I met with my best friend for lunch at basically my favorite restaurant ever, which is Spicy's, except it's not called Spicy's anymore because it went out of business in the early mid-2000s, something like that. And the original founder of Spicy's created another restaurant since Spicy's went out of business called Wings Express. So we went there. So anyway, had the best wings ever. I have been on a quest to find better or at least comparable wings, and that's what got me into my hot sauce, I don't want to call it addiction, but obsession. That's more accurate. So my hot sauce obsession came from Spicy's, now called Wings Express. Anyway, got here like 3:30 and we missed the dessert. I forget what competition. Missed a dessert competition. Kind of a bummer, but oh well. We got stuffed at Spicy's and had a really good time just hanging out and drinking and whatnot. Although at this point we were not drinking because we had not yet discharged firearms. So anyway, alongside the camp is this really cool river. Literally, it's like the river I think is like 45, 50 degrees because it's a dam outlet. So yeah, anyway, went up to set up all the pews and checking out everybody else's pews. and I just got a new Keltec KSG for this special occasion. Seems like every Redneck Rendezvous, I always bring a new firearm, so I didn't want to break tradition, so this year I got another one like right before. I actually got two, but the other one was super gunked up and couldn't shoot. And that was a real big bummer because I was really looking forward to it. But anyway, this one shoots, and it's a lot of fun, but it hurts a lot, especially if you get some of the higher powder loads. My shoulder is still pretty sore from it, but it's a lot of fun. And this is, oh, that's my baby. So that's my Desert Eagle 50 cal. It is my all-time favorite gun that I own. I've got a few others that I like a lot. Two Chris Vectors now. I haven't shot one of them because one of them was too gunked up. But anyway, usually this is like where I spend most of the time, most Redneck Rendezvous. This particular year, I was covered in sweat. Sweat kept getting in my eyeballs, and my hands were all wet from sweat. And every time I'd try to shoot, the guns would like wheel around my hands and maybe starting to get nervous shooting them. So I actually cut that pretty short. And I spent way less time than I thought I would. But anyway, yeah, so I shoot my Desert Eagle, which if you're not familiar, Desert Eagles shoot really big bullets. Basically, the cartridge is like yay big. I've got a bunch of spares, but I don't feel like running off camera. Got a bunch of spares, or the shells are this big, which is full of powder, and they're about that big around, which is, you know, half an inch, hence the .5. So it's .50, 50 cal. The caliber is, one caliber is 1 inch, so half a caliber or .5 is half an inch. So anyway, half-inch diameter, about that tall, lots of fire. So anyway, so after I think my second magazine, which is about, which at this point I think it was 10 rounds, so each magazine is 7 rounds. So about round 10 or 11, felt one hit. Shell casing hit me in the forearm, and it freaked me out. So like I instinctively like recoiled, finger off the trigger, pointed down range. That's extremely important. So finger off the trigger, gun down range. I like recoiled, like, oh man, something burned me. And what it did was I took the shell casing and pressed it up against myself, and it caused a nice little second-degree burn. But anyway, that was the fresh burn. That was kind of stinky. Oh, the other thing is, I don't know what was going on. I don't know if I just wasn't holding the gun right or something, or what was up. But I shot 20 rounds of the Desert Eagle, and 14 or 15 of them hit me square in the forehead. Speaking of forehead, notice my hair's really long. That's because I haven't been able to get to a barber in irritatingly long time, about a month. I'm a month overdue. Finally, getting a haircut on Wednesday. So I'll look like a regular person, a new man on Wednesday. I'm so excited. So anyway, excuse the mop top, but that's what's going on for right now. Anyway, so as nightfall started to set in, you can see this mist come over the river, and it just looks so cool. There's basically like this little mini peninsula that juts out where the river goes around it. And this is in, like, I'm basically standing on that peninsula, and there's a tree on it that branches out, and then it creates basically like two windows where you can look straight ahead and look into the pocket off to the side. So this is straight ahead, and this is the pocket off to the side. So my mom usually hangs out in this spot and goes fishing every day, and it's just really, really peaceful, really relaxing, really, really pretty. So there's also a field, that little white tent off to the side. That's where the shooting range is at. But in the middle was this really cool little field. So that was neat. They're growing a bunch of veggies and like corn. My mom's making a bunch of herbs. So she sent me home with a canister of oregano, parsley, and what's the other one? I want to say thyme because of the song, but it's not thyme. Anyway, sent me home with like three cases or three like canisters of seasonings. So it's really good. Anyway, so I got the fire started, hanging out by that. Took the giant log, threw it on there. It wasn't positioned quite like I'd like it, so I decided to grab it and roll it, and got a second-degree burn on the tip of my finger because I was a dum-dum. And yes, I was sober at this time, which is more embarrassing. Everybody else was not. I think I was one of the few sober people that were by the fire. So anyway, hung out. And then the next morning, this was my view when I got out of the car. Yeah, I slept in the car. It was a lot easier and more convenient than setting up a tent. So anyway, got up, and that was my morning view. And then crossed the little bridge to get back over to where that island peninsula thingy was at. This is across the bridge. So because it's a dam outlet, the water in the morning is always really, really low, and in the afternoon it gets pretty high. But anyway, so the water's low and it's just fog everywhere and it's so serene. So anyway, went and grabbed a couple things. Actually shot a Mousepad because I wanted to see what would happen. What would happen if neoprene got shot? So anyway, went and retrieved that because I left it. And on the way back is checking out the campsite and help pick up trash and clean up whatnot. Being a good person. And this is just the edge of the tree line going along the river, and I thought it looked cool how it was like smoky fog hooking around the edge, hooking around the bend. Yeah, so anyway, so I was leaving the driveway, or I was leaving, and the driveway is 3/4 of a mile long. And along the way, my girlfriend saw some deer up in the woods. I was like, oh, check him out. So I was like, all right, cool. Come up to a hairpin turn, which was like a 270-degree turn, and then going uphill. So hit that turn, was going up the hill, and I had my phone out, and it's like looking for him. The heck? Sorry, that's my phone going off. Pardon me. So anyway, I was looking around for these deer going up the hill, and had my phone out, and I was like looking like, oh, where are these deer at? Where are these deer at? And then 8 feet in front of me, a deer head or a doe was like staring me down like 8 feet away from my window. And it was like, oh my gosh, that was a great shot of a deer. So I hit my brakes, which of course like freaked out the deer, and it bolted down into the valley and into the woods. So missed out on that. Got a little further up the hill, and there's this horse just hanging out. So took a picture of the horse. I didn't get the doe, but I was this far away from that doe. So it was just right up basically on the fence line, just kind of looking at my window. So anyway, missed out on that one, but it was still a cool shot. So I had to do this because the Boston cream pie I wanted to try out. It was gross. The chocolate one was actually decent. But anyway, it was a throwback because in my early 20s when I was a mover, we would work like these all day, all night jobs, like show up at work at 7 a.m. and we wouldn't wrap up until like 11, 12, midnight, 1 in the morning, something like that. And the whole time we were constantly working, running, doing drops, and never stop for lunch. We would just occasionally, I think like twice throughout the entire day, stop for like just a gas station stop. And I would eat these little Hostess and the paper wax paper wrapper, the little pies that they would have, the cherry pie and then the chocolate pie. I would always eat the chocolate pie and occasionally cherry pie. But that's what I lived on when we would do these stupid like all day, all night jobs. So anyway, I hadn't tried one since my early to mid 20s. So I was like, you know what? I want to try this, see if it's any good. It was okay. But anyway, going into and out of Knoxville, I always look for this little, or it's not little, it's this big green dragon that's a fireworks store. So that's always my my indicator, like, yes, I'm almost in Knoxville, heading home, or leaving home, whatever. I grew up in Knoxville, if you didn't know that. But anyway, this is, and then Candace was nice enough to take a whole bunch of photos for me as we were leaving Tennessee to just get a view of a lot of the drive. Yeah, so this is the morning sun, and pretty much everywhere there were just tons of mountains, ravines, and I just find a lot of these green fluffy things cool to look at, and all these big lumpy things with the green fluffy things all over them are just, they're aesthetically pleasing, and I like looking at them. Anyway, there's also these like sheer rock cliffs where the interstate just carves straight through the side of a mountain, and all this blast zone stuff is just chiseled away. Some areas have some fences in case of rock slides, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway, hope you like that. This one a little longer than I was expecting, but anyway, if you want more stuff like this, leave a comment. If you like more of the financial stuff, political stuff, leave a comment on that too. I like to mix it up a little bit. If I just talk about politics all the time, I'll get bored with that. And let's face it, I don't travel enough to have just a straight up travel channel. So anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. I'd like to hear your opinions on what kind of videos you'd like to see next, and we can go from there. But for now, stay classy. Appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time.